everyone. This is Marsha Williams Cromer, welcoming you once again to the Rancher and Stilettos Presents Cocktails and Conversations. My guest today is the author, Kim Robinson, author of the fabulous book, The Roux and the Gumbo. I think you're going to love hearing from her. And I'm so glad to get to chat with you, girl.
It's so great being here. And you said, well, we can do it over the phone. I'm like, no, let's do it in person.
We've had.
I like your in person.
I love your energy as well. Yeah, absolutely.
And it gets me out the house.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Working from home.
Yeah.
I got that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want you to just kind of give everybody a little bit of background about you, but also my favorite book, The Roux and the Gumbo. You got to talk to them about The Roux.
Okay. Well, The Roux and the Gumbo. It was 1993. I was pregnant with my second son, and I was bedridden because I had lymphedema and my legs swelled, so I had to stay in bed for my last trimester. My grandmother, who we talk about here, she came down. This is her before she died, and this is her when.
Oh, she's beautiful, beautiful.
And there's pictures in the back of the book about the family, with the family photos and everything.
What made you write the book?
Well, my grandmother, I would lay on this pull-out couch all day, crocheting and knitting and getting ready for the baby. And my grandmother came to help me. And she would sit on the couch and watch her stories all day. She's always her stories. She don't miss her stories.
The soap operas.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Yes, that's what they used to call them. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And she watched her stories for the day. Then Oprah came on. She had to see Oprah. Oprah was talking about her book that was coming out. All of a sudden, my grandmother said, you know what? I had more stuff happen to me than she did. Somebody should write my book. So a light bulb went off. And I had always grown up writing poetry. It was my way of growing up in Compton. You see a lot of things. And being a kid, you don't know how to process it. My way of processing things, with my father being in the hospital 6 months out of the year in the VA hospital, that was my way of processing, So when she said that, I was like, okay, let's do it. And my husband set up a computer next to the pull-out bed where I lay all day.
Yeah.
And all those stories that you hear all your life.
Right.
From everybody, all the older people in the family.
Right.
I started writing them. But she started expanding on all those stories.
Oh, so you still had her here to give you some insight and color the characters in.
Straight from the
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
And then I got her a tape recorder and a whole case of cassettes. And she sat there. I would wake up sometime 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and she'd be in there recording.
Oh my goodness.
Just recording stuff that she had never told anyone. It was like a floodgate open.
I know it was cathartic for her as well. You know what I'm saying? Especially at that point in her life where she's older, she's reflecting on those things, those memories that were obviously painful, but some of them very joyful as well. And it just always amazes me that, people will, I guess you could say, see the glass as half full or half empty. And as a writer, I think it's our job to stay optimistic enough about any story because they all have value.
Yes. And I think even if you read a book and it just shows you what not to do, it's worth reading.
Absolutely.
Because somebody sat down and put their soul into that. You know how when you're writing, it's like you go into that zone.
Oh my God.
And it just takes you there.
You know what? And what's really weird for me as a newer writer, you've been writing for years, and I've been writing for years, but to actually set myself up to be a published author, this is my 5th year.
Yeah.
Yay! Okay. I'm so excited.
Girl, I'm so proud
I
of you.
know.
And I was tired of being the only author
in the group, in our book
Black
club.
World,
Yes.
keeping it real.
I know.
And it's great to have it.
Because we understand the hustle, and even when you finish writing a chapter, sometimes you just want to talk to somebody about it. And there are times when I will find myself like crying after a scene or laughing out loud. It's like, oh, people are gonna love this.
My husband is, he's like, what are you crying for? And it's like, I'm writing stuff that just makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
And if it don't make me cry, it ain't gonna touch nobody else.
That's exactly right. Mm-hmm. And now my question too is, I guess as a newer novelist, one of the things that I do have, a little bit of, I guess, a block around is not so much the story, because the story is in me, it writes itself. Mm-hmm. But because I do write about what I know, I find myself wanting to filter it so that, people don't think it's me, oh my God, it's so awful.
The buttery thing about writing, you can do whatever you want. You can just go.
I'm getting better. I am.
It takes you.
Yeah.
Don't, I put my hands on the keys and they just start typing. I have to go back and read to know what did I just type?
Right.
Because it just takes off. And I get into that era. If it's the 1940s or, even with this starting in the 1800s.
Right.
Made me some dresses.
Oh, you know what? I can't. No, I cannot with you, because you are like also an amazing seamstress and designer. So, and you're writing, and then through your writing, you're using all these other skills to just kind of bring it to life. Yes. I love that.
And my vision is one day this book is going to be a movie. Mm-hmm. I have had too many dreams about it, and my family's from Louisiana.
Right.
And when my grandmother was recording one day, she sat there and she would go into these trances. And she went into a trance, and when she came out, she looked at me, she said, one day this book is gonna feed your family.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I'm just writing it for the family.
Right. And the historical content of it, right.
But she said, no, one day this book is going to feed your family.
Okay, we're going to have to take a toast on that one. Oh my God, that is just, cheers. That's good stuff right there. And I think one of the things that we miss is, while our family is around they just are a wealth of knowledge. My dad recorded a lot of information, and I listen. And as a writer, you find yourself, you listen differently.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't know what you came from, how you gonna know where you're going?
Right.
And the thing about it is, when I kept doing it, I kept writing, and then I thought about publishing, and I wrote to, what was that publishing house that did the Iceberg Slim book? Holloway House.
Holloway, okay.
Okay. And I wrote to them. Girl,
what did they say?
I got back a 2-page letter. And in the letter, the guy would say, okay, you're definitely educated. Mm-hmm. You can write. But your writing is that of someone who is writing for the corporate world, which I did that for years.
Exactly. Same here.
In insurance. Mm-hmm. So yes, I knew how to do corporate writing, but he said, somebody told you could write. And then big, huge capital letters. It said they lied.
No way. That's like totally brutal.
And that hurt my feelings.
Oh my goodness,
first.
Of course.
But I kept on reading. He said, you got a story and it needs to be told. But
you have to change the voice.
To go
and
take some classes on creative writing and writing for fiction or writing for nonfiction.
Right.
You need to go take some classes. So, I thought about it. And I said, this man that sat down here, and you could tell it wasn't just the kind of letter.
No, they're form letters. Yeah, absolutely.
It was not a form letter.
Yeah.
This man took time and wrote a 2-page letter giving me the format and the map of where I need to go.
Right. And look at
this better.
Look at the seed that he planted and you didn't stop. Because I think a lot of times, we get criticism and, we use it as a means to shut down instead of, just to climb.
Rejection letters.
Wow.
And when we buy our next house, I'm taking those letters and I'm going to wallpaper it.
I love it.
And in the middle of that, I'll put my acceptance letters. But I think that I've been in a lot of businesses. I mean, you know that from street life to housewife and all that stuff. But I had told my grandmother, I ain't worried about that. We're paying no bills. I'm married to a millionaire.
Okay.
So, well, we weren't married at the time, but I'm with a millionaire. My bills are paid forever.
Right.
So,
right.
And she said, mark my words. Do you know that there have been times when I went to book signings and the money that I made at that book signing, when my husband lost everything and fell ill, that money I could come home and pay a light bill.
Okay.
I could go to the grocery store and buy some.
Yeah. Absolutely.
My grandmother's words were ringing in my ears. Okay.
And tell me her name again.
Helen.
Helen's.
It was Helen Simpson at the time.
Simpson.
She went back to her. But her married name was Broussard. Our family name is Broussard.
Okay.
And she was married to my grandfather, and they had like 9 kids. She lost 2.
Right. You were so close to her. So
my mother worked. My dad was in the hospital so much.
Right.
And then when he wasn't in the hospital, he was out hustling.
Right. Okay.
My grandmother.
I hear you.
Her favorite saying was, if you're not doing nothing, check your pulse because you're dead.
Okay. That's right.
Yeah.
That's it.
And she came back the next year because my kids are like 11 months apart. And she helped me again. And I had gotten hundreds of pages, and by that time, I had went to Louisiana. And it's like everybody was a cousin. Because my grandfather and his brothers, it was for, I think they populated the whole village.
I know, I hear you. Oh my goodness. Did your grandmother tell you these stories? Yeah.
She got into stuff, and then she fell ill. During spinal cancer surgery, she went into a coma.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I printed everything out, and I went to Cali, and I would sit there and I would read. Well, family would come in, they're like, what you reading her? And I'm like, the book we've been writing on this book for years. This was 97. Since, from 93 to 97, I'm writing.
So was that 5 years that it took you to actually?
I'm taking classes and everything. Well, it took me on a whole nother road because my family's sitting there and listening to me read, and then it's like, don't start reading tomorrow till I get here. And then more and more family came.
Right.
And I would be reading their stuff, and they're like, that's not true. Mother never told me that. Well, the next day, I brought the recording.
Okay.
So they could hear it
right.
straight from the horse's
That was
mouth.
so smart.
Like her childhood abuse when she was abused.
And she was born in the late 1800s or early 1900s?
No, that was my great.
Your great grandmother. Okay, got it.
The book starts before
she was. Got
my great grandmother with this lady who helped her.
Right.
You know, she mentored her.
Right.
And she became the town midwife, unofficial doctor. But she also had a speakeasy.
Okay.
And a fast house. And was known for her straight razor.
Oh my goodness.
This little 5-foot woman.
God. This is the whole story here.
I told you I come from a family of hustlers. You know?
You know what? Hustling happens everywhere. All of us are hustling on some level.
Yeah.
You know, but I understand what you're saying just from, you know, the idea of whatever means of making a living, they were ready to do it.
Yes. Yeah. My grandmother, she had a thrift store, she had a cafe, and she went and cleaned people's houses in Beverly Hills and Wilshire.
Right.
And cooked for them. She catered to the movie studios because Lena Horne was making that movie with Harry Belafonte.
You gotta tell me what it was.
The one about the soldier.
Was it Carmen? Carmen. Yes.
Anyway, one of the people that she worked for, they had, you know, they were with the movie studios, and he was fussing because their production was slow because she was ill, and doctors didn't know what was wrong with her. My grandmother told him, ain't nothing wrong at a prayer, and a good plate of food won't fix.
Okay.
Guess what? She made that one with some gumbo.
Lena Horne?
She took it to her. And that woman ate it because when I cook, I pray.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All that good energy goes into
Isn't that so good? Cooking for me is cathartic.
Yes.
You know, and, you know, I literally cook from my soul. Yes. I don't really use recipes. Yes. If I decide to create a recipe, it's in my head.
I'm always looking for new recipes.
And I'll do that, but I can't stay to the recipe. I gotta just like
you gotta make
jazz it up. Exactly.
Even the family gumbo recipe, which is like 300 years old.
Right.
I tailored it to my taste. And my gumbo so well, you haven't been to one of the events where I make my gumbo.
Right. Not yet, but I'm coming.
That's okay. We will do it. Every November is my book club month.
Right. Okay.
You know, and that's when I host. And I try to make it special. But it's like cooking. My grandmother always said, don't cook when you're mad.
Right.
You can kill somebody.
Oh my God. And you will burn food then, you know.
Can kill
exactly.
somebody.
Exactly.
You know, put the wrong thing.
Right.
You know. So I don't cook or sew or write if my spirit's not there. My spirit, it's like I wake up, I know what I'm gonna do that day. Because God has showed me what I want to do, or He showed me what chapters I need to write for whatever I'm working on, or He showed me the best way to, you know, construct something that I'm sewing. You know, I'll look at whatever I'm working on before I go to sleep. And that way, when I go to sleep, it comes to me in my dream. Right.
But that's because those are gifts that He's given to you personally. Okay. Well, and though others may have similar gifts, but that's your gift. Well, the writing piece, definitely.
My daddy was a tailor.
Okay.
When he wasn't in the hospital, he sold for the movie studios.
Oh my God.
He sold for all the players and hustlers in town.
I love it.
He had a little shop on the back of our garage, and that he, where he would sit and sew. And me being a daddy's girl, if I want to spend time with him, I need to be in there.
Yeah.
That's why I've been sewing for money since I was 7.
Wow.
I had a little stand, me and my girlfriends put a stand out in the front yard. We had lemonade. We had chocolate chip cookies with frosting. And we had remember the tops from the 70s with the choker ring?
Yes, of course.
I made one of those by hand. And I put yellow yarn for the hair, buttons for the nose, and for the mouth. I didn't know what to do. Girl, I sold a red licorice onto it.
That's smart for you. Yeah.
Then I got on my bike.
But just creative.
I'm riding up and down the street, and all my friends. I've been stolen from my Barbie dolls for years. Daddy would give me all his scraps and everything. And I had the Barbie doll house I constructed out of shoe boxes. Girl, it had so many levels and stairs and windows.
Oh, I love your story.
Daddy would take a piece of glass and sand it down for me, make a table. Oh man, we played with that house. It was like my house was the Barbie house because my mom worked for this lady cleaning her house, and she, also she worked in the factory, soldering circuit boards for 30-something years.
Wow, okay.
Which gave her carpal tunnel so bad they had to put a TENS machine in her butt. But I said I come from a family of hustlers.
Let me ask you, when I hear the word root, that to me, that's like that thing that connects all the other parts together.
It gives it its
and
flavor.
The flavor, yes, whatever the food around it is.
The flour, the butter, the oil, the standing there. I was 5 years old. My grandmother would stand me on a chair in front of the stove, and I had to sit there and stir that roux till it got to the right color.
Right. And you definitely can't let it burn. Yeah.
Worse than a burn.
No, can't do it.
Throw that out.
Yes,
ma'am. I saw so many of those go in the trash can. And I would stand there and I would stir. And never let my roux get darker than me. Okay. Because a dark roux just means it's burnt.
Yeah, it's burnt. Yeah. So from, like I said, I look at the roux being the thing that holds things together and gives it its flavor. Your grandmother is the roux in the gumbo.
Yeah, because
isn't that great?
I was always with her, cleaning office buildings, cleaning people's houses. I was always with her because my mother's working, my dad's in the hospital, and I just jumped in there and did everything I could to help. Yeah, and she paid me. Even though she didn't need to. Right. She would give me, okay, you had a good day's work today. Here you go.
And you're motivated now. Yeah, exactly.
And then with my dad, when he was in the hospital, and I made that shirt, and everybody wanted one, but I was like, this is too slow doing it by hand. Okay. So I went back there, and I turned on his industrial machine. And I got on that machine.
So how many did you make? How many of the shirts that you ended up making?
I couldn't even count. Wow. You know why? Me and my girlfriends, we busted open our piggy banks, got on our bikes, rode downtown Compton to Woolworth.
I remember that old story.
And we bought fabric and choker rings. The jewelry with the choker rings, pick the little jewelry off and put the choker ring in.
Improvise.
Yes. But I showed them how to cut. They cut, and first time I got on that machine, girl, I sewed straight into this finger.
Oh, been there, done that.
Big.
Oh, I know.
The
I
needle,
know the worst.
and it's like it goes boom, you know, and then it's like,
and that's an industrial. I did that with just a regular home machine.
That I'm looking at it. We figured out how to get the needle out of the machine. We pulled the needle out. My finger, poured some alcohol on it, put it back.
Kept moving.
I went to work.
Yeah.
It never happened again.
I gotta ask you this question. Of your characters in the Roux, in the Gumbo, what's your favorite and character that you have written? And I know sometimes we have to write antagonists. So what is one that would be your least favorite?
My least favorite character. Oh boy. They're all my family.
Yeah, I know. I know you gotta love them where they are, right?
Somebody who dead.
Yeah, I know. But you know, when I'm writing, I know I do have characters that are supposed to not be likable, but I like them anyway. I end up liking them because
the thing about this book is it's 95%
that's true.
So
yeah,
and I'm not saying what part is or what part ain't.
Right.
But they were who they were.
Yeah.
And the story she gave me, and the thing about it is when I was sitting there, all the family started coming to the hospital,
right,
and listening to me read. I could not start reading till 4 o'clock.
Oh my God! So everybody could get there.
Yeah, and even the nurses, you know, usually they say you got too many people. They would be in there listening too.
Oh.
And it was like, so then they got so into it, they started doing their own recordings. All my uncles and aunts and cousins, they gave me recordings.
Right.
And it was like, and then my father, the historical value.
Right. So before you finished the book, you were able to glean like input from all these other people as well.
It was all stuff they felt like needed to be in this book. Nice. So guess what? The book.
So it's a partnership.
It was like 200 pages. It grew, as you can see.
Yeah.
It grew exponentially.
Right.
And everybody got what they wanted in there, you know, and it was this. I was still just doing it for the family. Right. But then one day, my grandmother, she said my name. She never came out of her coma. But she said my name while I was reading. Loud and clear, and everybody heard it. You know, people from Louisiana.
Yes, I know. Everything means something. Yep.
And that night she died. I think it was because she knew that every time somebody read this book, they were bringing her back to life. People have told me that they have felt spirits around when they're reading this book.
Oh, wow. Spirits from their own family resonating with them?
That it encourages them to find out about their own family.
Exactly. You know? Exactly.
And
which is something that I think is lost on youth. You know, when you're young, you don't really see the value. You're just trying to make your own path.
Like, oh Lord, she telling stories.
Yes.
But what? I always sat there and I always listen.
Yeah.
You know. And now,
because you're a writer. You were always a writer. And a writer loves to hear a good story. So you were the perfect one to, you know, channel this information, put it in a book so that the rest of us can see it and love it. You are amazing. I just want to hold up the book so everybody can see. This is my friend Kim Robinson's book, The Roux in the Gumbo. Kim, thank you so much for joining me today. I want to toast out.
Now, Stilettos.
Yes. The Rancher in Stilettos.
Can't wait for the
Oh my God! Can you believe the 4th book is coming out on Valentine's Day? I'm still, it's blowing me away.
It's a great thing. I love your series.
Thank you.
The thing about it is, all those women going through what they're going through, it makes me think, what if I was single again?
Yeah.
What am I gonna do with all the stuff that's going on in the world?
Right, right.
Know?
Well, and the good thing about it is that, the not all the women are single. We all have the characters all have different lives,
Yeah.
But to your point, in many areas of the books, they are in their single season.
Yeah.
But they were prepared. They were getting themselves prepared because they came from families who really stressed education. So all of them, as you remember, have really they have their jobs.
They were strong women. They didn't have to go out and try to find a man to take care of them and all that.
Right.
So I can't really say nothing because I found.
Yeah.
But I was, in that life, and I had promised my uncle and that I would be out of that life by the time I was 30, because he said there's nothing worse than an old.
I got it.
But your women make me think, and they touch, from listening to the book club.
Right.
Women, they can get into that book because it reminds them of the things they've been through.
Right.
You meet men and you think this is the one.
Right. But and it also, I think, the empowerment of just seeing women in uplifting roles is something that we really always need to be able to see women that look like us, in uplifting roles. Well, thank you for being.
You definitely did it, and thank you so much for having me.
Being on the show. You're wonderful. Great. And I just want to remind everybody that you may not always get the happy ending, but we make our endings happy. Thank you. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.